Hello and welcome to Car Dealer Live. My name is James Batchelor, and today we are talking to Damien Dally, Managing Director of Fiat UK, who's responsible for Fiat Professional and Abarth, and he joins me now. Hello, Damien.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
Yeah, really good to have you on. Thank you for taking the time out today to speak to us. Now, the last time I spoke to you, Damien, you were the boss of Alfa Romeo and Jeep in the UK, weren't you? So you're now the top dog, numero uno at Fiat since January. How has the last 6 months been for you?
Well, I mean, first of all, to be honest, I mean, as I think you're aware, there are a lot of changes here. I mean, I've spent a lot of time on Alfa Romeo and Jeep. A mad Alfisti. I first joined the group 21 years ago to join Alfa. So this was a real big change for me, if I'm honest with you, because I mean, I'd worked alongside Fiat. When I was abroad for about a year, I'd worked on Fiat, Professional Fiat, along with all the other brands. But it was my first real sort of opportunity to work for the brand. So, I was pretty excited. And literally, I mean, my duties ended on Alfa Romeo and Jeep on the 6 o'clock on New Year's Eve, on the 31st. Couple of days off, back in, and then we were in front of the network up at the NEC kind of mid January. So it's like massive crash and immersing myself in the Fiat brand, so it was exciting. And you know what they say, to be thrown in the deep end is healthy, really. So it's good.
Hmm.
But I'm really pleased, and now I've settled in a bit, and obviously implemented some projects and stuff and working with the retailers. So I'm very excited.
Oh, great. Well, obviously Fiat and Abarth, they're two very different brands from Alfa and Jeep, particularly in the UK. Um, what I mean, what are the key differences, do you think? I mean, clearly Alfa Romeo is part of the new premium. It's sitting in the premium part of Stellantis, isn't it? But what are you keen to do what are you keen to do with Fiat and Abarth in the UK?
So I think when you think Fiat, I mean, Fiat is, it's about fun, funky, colourful, urban cars. Um, and I think we're on it's a really exciting moment because obviously we've got the range which we've got now, which is in transition, and we'll talk about it in a second, I guess. I mean, I'm probably lucky enough to have one of the most exciting cars in its segment with the 500 electric. I mean, in a way, the Fiat brand, you've got the Fiat brand, and then you've got the 500 brand. That model is so iconic. I mean, the hybrid version just still going 15 years later, still selling really well 15 years later. But the electric is won all the awards. It's really fabulous. And in actual fact, when I was first spoken to about taking Fiat on, it was in the summer last year, and I hadn't driven, I'm honest with you, a Fiat for quite a while. So I had a 500e for 48 hours. I extended it for 2 weeks. I loved it. I really loved it. And actually, it was the first electric car that I'd driven since the original, if you remember,
Yeah.
original 500e that was only sold in California, which was back in 2012, 2013.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, Fiat though, I think fundamentally is about fun. It's about bright colors. It's about enjoyment. It's about that little bit of Italy. It's about the Dolce Vita. You drive that car, and the noises the car makes, and the little ice cream van sound, and it's designed to make you smile and your day pass much better. I mean, Italian, 100% Italian, but obviously as Alfa was, but Alfa was about sportiness. It was about performance, and very different. But so yeah. I mean, Fiat's a really exciting brand, and it's a really exciting moment to be part of it, really.
Yeah, I mean, you said it there, how 500 is very much a brand in itself. Does that cause problems for Fiat separately as a brand, or are there plans in place in the future to elevate the importance of the Fiat brand?
Well, I think it's not a problem. I think it's really an opportunity in a sense. So I think it's probably I mean, Fiat has some really iconic nameplates, really iconic nameplates. And in actual fact, Fiat's future lies in Fiat's past. That makes sense as well, because we're very much revisiting So I mean, 500 has been obviously a huge success, and continues to do that. But there are going to be some other iconic names which we're going to really kind of dust off and really invest in. So we unveiled Topolino, last week. So last week was a big week all round, which again is, it's about urban mobility, it's about funky, it's about smile, it's about fun, and also it's obviously electric. And we've got some new models which we're launching and unveiling very soon, which again will be revitalizing previous iconic Fiat nameplates. So I think the 500 within the Fiat stable sets the standard as to what can be done.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge now is for us to do that with all the other models as well.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I mean, when I joined the brand, and as I alluded to a moment ago, it was really straight in and crash bang wallop really. And I was in front of all the retailers at the conference, and it's really important that our retailers go on the journey with us. At that conference back in January, I made a number of commitments to the network, and that really was around about 3 or 4 different areas, and one of them was on 500, and specifically with 500 hybrid, that we would make that, because that's kind of our volume model at the moment. We would be as competitive. We would make the retailers as competitive as they possibly could be on that car. And I'm pleased to say that, in Q1 we were 50% up versus last year.
Wow.
Up until the end of April, we were nearly 30% up, and it's still performing really well. So 500 is an absolute key to our success. But we've got others, and the others include Fiat Professional. Fiat Professional was kept quite separate previously. It was managed by a separate team. It's now under the Fiat umbrella, as you quite rightly introduced me at the beginning. And Fiat Professional is a really big opportunity for us as well, because we've done really well in selling to the converter market. I give you an example. I think over 50% of the ambulances on the road are Fiat ambulances, which is an amazing accolade to the brand, because quite literally we've got people's lives in our hands, the trust in the brand. But we've probably been a bit reliant on converter business. So one of the deliberate strategies that I talked about in January was that we would focus much more on retail, which is good news for our dealers, because the converter business is small niche and a small group of dealers. We want to make it more encompassing. And on Fiat Professional, again, we're growing. We're growing in terms of share. We're up 35% year on year. So that's starting to perform well as well. And that's, of course, that's not just 500. So 500 is doing well. Fiat Professional is doing well. And the other commitment which we made to the retailers, or I made to the retailers, and we had a follow-up last week when we launched our e-grant, which I'd love to tell you about in a second, is to really make 500e, the all-electric Fiat 500, kind of the center of our universe. And the final commitment was that basically we would launch Abarth 500e in a really big way, in a way that had never been done before. So this was kind of the relationship with the retailers. We'll do this for you, and in return we wanted a couple of things. And last week when we announced our e-grant, because in truth on 500e, our intention is to make it the center of our universe, but I think anybody watching this film is probably aware, the BEV market is really starting to struggle, really starting to struggle. It's not a unique thing to Fiat. It's not a unique thing to the segment. It's slowing significantly. I mean, you look at the SMMT registration data, and it looks kind of okay. But once the grant was removed last year, the share of BEV is very static. I mean, it depends on how you say the stat. 15% of people are buying BEV, or 85% of people are not. And the reality is 85% of people are not. Yeah. So we really need to change this trend, which is what we launched. And we gave our retailers a very sneak preview ahead of the official launch. And the feedback we got from the dealers was great. I mean, they're absolutely behind it. And I think I'm pleased that we were the first to do it. We're trying to lead the way with this. And again, it links in with our strategy about affordable, fun, funky, colourful, urban, in this case, electric mobility.
Yeah.
it's exciting times, but it's not just about Fiat 500.
Yeah. I'll come back to eGrant in a second. I just want to pick you up on something there. You were saying about hybrid sales, 500 hybrid sales, they're up 50%. And is a lot of this, are you starting to get a sense that the industry is starting to get back to normal? Because presumably a key component of those sales is more supply coming through. Are you finding that? Is more supply coming through from the factories and those waiting times are being cut down?
Yeah, I mean, things are definitely starting to normalise. Absolutely. I mean, we're in reasonably good shape in terms of supply. Some model variants are more difficult than others, but on our volume models, which are our bread and butter models for our retailers, which is 500 and 500 electric, we are. I mean, they're made obviously in Europe, so I mean, I want to touch a piece of wood. I think this desk is wood. I think the supply is starting to come good again. Yes.
Let's talk about eGrant then. You spoke a bit about it there, but I mean, fundamentally, manufacturers shouldn't have to be doing this, should they? I mean, if the government hadn't got rid of the plug-in car grant, presumably you wouldn't have to be doing this, would you?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, basically, the thing is with the government grant, and to be specific, I mean, you know, we've written a letter to the government. We're showing them what we're doing. We're not necessarily saying reinstate the grant as was. What we're saying is that basically the journey to 2030 is starting to, starting to slow. It's starting to prove tricky, and things need to be done. So, you know, and we observed it for a while. We could see what's happening. We've looked at the data. We've also spoken to our customers who have made the jump to electric. And I do think people want to, but they need a reason to do it now. And I think, you know, if you don't give consumers, I think two things need to be done. One is we need to give consumers a reason to buy now. And the second is we need to make it a bit easier for them. Anyone who's bought cars and is kind of our age, you know, have bought cars before, and it's quite straightforward buying a petrol or diesel car because we've done it before. We know what we're going to get. You know, with electric, there's concerns about charging, there's concerns about range, there's all these kind of, you know, every time you pick up a newspaper, there's negativity. So we needed to do two things. Is basically we needed to give people a reason to buy now, and we needed to make it easier to do it. And specifically, the grant, if you remember, which was removed in last June, it would only applied to vehicles under £32,000. So really, smaller and let me say more affordable cars were hit the most.
Yeah.
Which in a way, if you're trying to get the masses to make the movement to electric cars, it kind of hurt them, and by nature, of course, because we're selling a car under £32,000, us the most, which is why we wanted to do what we wanted to do and why we launched. And in fairness, as I alluded to a moment ago, we previewed it to the retailers. First of all, we got a couple of dealers, a few dealers, our franchise board in a bit of a small circle, quite early doors, to share with them what we were doing, and they were very, very positive, very positive. And then we shared it with the retailers on Thursday before the launching on the Friday, and I think you only need to look at my LinkedIn post, and there's about half a dozen dealers on there, which is really lovely to see, massively supportive. And we've seen that their activities and they're gearing up, they're investing in their marketing plans. They're doing call-offs through our dealer marketing agency, and so they're really, really starting to get behind it. But it's a really clear message, and it's kind of our message which we're setting out for the summer. And then the other commitment which we made to the retailers, I think it's really, really important. And when I had that meeting with the dealers on Thursday of last week, it really gave me the opportunity to revisit what we committed to them and also what we asked of them. And I would like to talk in a moment about what we asked of them back in January. So as I mentioned, it was about the 500 hybrid box ticked, the Fiat Professional box ticked, 500e Centre of the Universe, actually not box ticked, and we were very straightforward and transparent about that. But actually, crikey, we're launching the e-grant, revolutionary, and the other thing was Abarth. So Abarth 500e, which is kind of like the ultimate 500e, really, which journalists started to preview a couple of weeks ago. They were at Bolocco, our test track, which I know you've been to many times. Amazing track in the sun in Italy, and the reviews which we've got on Abarth are absolutely spectacular. And we are due to make a media investment in Abarth in the UK, with a unique, which I can't actually speak about yet, but I'm dying to. It's going to receive an investment that we've never given that brand before, which is going to be a real shot in the arm to our retailers at the same time we're launching the e-grant.
I mean, I find on that latter point, I find that particularly surprising because, I mean, Abarth has got such a strong following in the UK that, in many ways, from my perspective, I'm surprised that you're doing that because it's a car that naturally sells itself. So, do you think there's more to shout about with this car? Then is it the fact that it's electric? There's more of a story to talk about.
Yeah, because I think basically the point is we're sort of positioning it as the ultimate 500e, and I think by investing in Abarth and you're right. I mean, basically, I mean, in the past, Abarth has even outsold. I hope this hasn't been transmitted to Italy. Has even out on occasion, not every occasion, on occasion, outsold the Italian market. I mean, we have been a very good. I say we. I can't take credit because I wasn't there then. Really strong performer on Abarth because we kind of, the UK does get premium brands. They do understand the sophistication, which not necessarily every European market gets. It's got that Scorpion logo on it. It's all the coolness of 500, but it's that more aggressive, more sporty, more powerful, and funky, but in a different kind of funky way. But I think what Abarth Electric does is really is part of our intrinsic plan to explain what Fiat and Abarth's expression of electric driving is. And frankly speaking, it couldn't come at a better time because we've also got in parallel this thing with the Fiat grant happening. But you will see Abarth on high profile media like cinema and television, which we've not done before.
And of course, the big thing about that car is the sound, isn't it? And that's something which many electric car makers at the moment, it's like the elephant in the room, isn't it? It's something they're not sort of talking about, whereas Abarth really is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things which everyone always loved, of course, about the 595 and the other cars is the sound. And this is coming with the sound simulator, which again is it's fun, it's life serious, isn't it? I mean, these are kind of these are like toys to make your day that much special, and I mean, similar to Fiat, but in a very different way. The Abarth is much more is a completely different expression of one's personality, and it does relate to performance. It's got amazing heritage, but it is fun, and you drive it, it's like whoa. And that sound simulator will be standard on all of the Abarth 500e. It's not necessarily in Europe. We pushed it in the UK to make it standard. And in fairness, the residual guide people, Cap and Glass and all the other guys, were massively supportive of that. They're kind of like, in 2-3 years' time in the used market, people are going to want that.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It sounds great.
Yeah. Well, it's a point of difference, isn't it? And that's one thing which people are concerned about. Like you say, in 3-4 years' time, where there's more electric cars on the market, how can you get a bit of cut through? How can you be a little bit different from the competition? So, yeah. Okay. So you touched upon it just then. You've spoken to the network about your plans, and you've asked for a few things back from them. I mean, what are you asking your dealers at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, basically one of the things which when I came and as I mentioned, I had this kind of 2 weeks of crash learn on Fiat. And what really struck me was a big dispersion between I mean, we have a contingent of really good committed dealers. I mean, I give you an example. So our measure of customer satisfaction, I mean, we call it NPS, Net Promoter Score. So we have the quartile of retailers. I mean, our top 2 quartiles, so 50% of the network, are at nearly 99%, versus the target 95. Absolutely hitting it out of the park and doing a home run at the same time, really. Absolutely phenomenal. But then we had kind of the bottom quartile, who was just, I mean, I don't know any more baseball analogies other than home run and hitting out of the park, but kind of, I don't know, didn't even swing at the ball, really, perhaps is the analogy, or didn't. and the key message at the conference really was, look, you know, and we really did share a lot of our future. We showed them a lot of future products. I think they saw more than they expected. But the message was really, really clear, is that we've got to raise our game. You know, we're looking, you know, we're investing in this brand. Perhaps we haven't had that investment previously, but there's going to be a number of new models coming up. But they had to knuckle down, they had to invest. The inference was there was space on the boat for everybody, the inference, but they needed to act and act now. And the truth of the matter is that some, and you know, maybe it's the right decision for them, maybe, but I cannot allow the amazing performance of 50% of the network, and it really is amazing, to be impacted by some that are just not playing. And so what you will see, and it will be pretty soon, is you will see us parting company with some pretty big names, or a couple of big names, and some of those have been around for a long time. But you know, the execution and implementation of what we've got coming is really, really important. And I have to say that we need to do it because the brand deserves it. The investment which we're making deserves it, and our network, which, frankly speaking, some as I've run out of baseball analogies, are doing an amazing job. They can't have it being pulled down by these guys and girls. So you are going to see quite soon some pretty big changes. These changes are deliberate. These changes are strategic. But I think it will be for the better of the brand. You're also going to see us expanding with some other retailers. We've already expanded with our own in-house retail group, Stellantis and You, last year. So, of course, Fiat is about urban mobility. So expanding in the cities is really, really important. So we will be back in London very, very briefly. We'll be opening a dealership in Chiswick. We opened a dealership in Manchester with Stellantis and You, and also Birmingham last year. So there's going to be a lot of changes, but these changes, they are strategic. They are part of a bigger plan, and they will make the backbone of retailers that are doing an amazing job. And any of them watching this, you know, it's really, really important, and they've already heard me say it. I think, you know, some guys and girls are doing a staggeringly good job. It is for the better good.
Yeah, I mean, in October, of course, you know, I was on the conference call with Paul Wilcox, you know, boss of Stellantis in the UK, and saying about the number of dealers that are going to lose their franchise. I think it's over 130. I mean, if Fiat is there quite a large number of Fiat dealers that have lost their franchise, and has that process actually come to an end now, or are they still yet to take place?
So it's imminent. So basically, it's going to take place very shortly. So Fiat so when we started this process, I know you did something with Paul last year. The process started, I think it was in May 2021, if I remember correctly, and then it was kind of a 2-year stagger from then. And then because of the end of the quarter, which took us to the end of May this year, so effectively last week, and then because of the nature of the quarter, we extended the contracts by about 4 weeks. So the answer is you are going to see a fairly significant number on Fiat. Significant number probably means that we're going to go is going to mean we're going to go down from about 125 dealers to about 100. There are going to probably a couple of people are going to go, oh, I'm surprised about that one, but it is part of a bigger strategy on our part. It's not something which has happened by accident, and it is for the right reasons. And as if I recall, Paul explained on the interview which he did with you guys last September, October time. So yeah.
I mean, one other thing that he mentioned on that call was something called Stellantis houses. So numerous brands under one roof. I mean, what's the latest on that? And is that something which you think Fiat and Abarth, those brands, sit well with? You know, having a dealership with numerous brands in. Do you think that works for your brands?
I mean, I think as I said at the beginning, I've known you for a long time. I mean, I've been with the company 21 years. Obviously, it started off very much kind of Fiat Alfa Romeo, then obviously Fiat Chrysler with Jeep, etc. And obviously now we're part of a much bigger family. Yeah. And the benefits of that bigger family Abarth. You know, it's the benefits on the product investment side, and all those kind of things, making cars easier and more cost effective to bring to market. Very clear. But also the other benefit is, of course, it opens doors perhaps to dealer groups that previously we didn't because we were smaller or whatever. So I only see upside, if I'm honest with you, and I think absolutely can work. I think the key thing about Stellantis is that every brand has its own identity, you know, its own brand portfolio. They're very clear. I mean, Fiat is about electrified, fun, colourful, urban mobility. You know, it's. I mean, if I speak about the other three, which I know best, you know, Alfa Romeo is about performance. It's about Italian, of course. You know, it's about sporting heritage and all this kind of stuff. And it's about exhilarating drive. Jeep is about adventure. It's about go anywhere, do nothing. They're all very different. They're all really different. And I think this is the important thing. So I absolutely see nothing. And in fairness, and what you're going to see start to unfold in the future is you are going to see us partnered more, as Paul alluded to, with these. So I personally genuinely see nothing but positivity and upside to this.
Yeah. I spoke about you. I spoke with you about this quite a lot when you were at Alpha, about agency sales, and of course Alfa Romeo is moving towards that model. Is that something which you're considering for Fiat, or do you think Fiat is totally different from Alfa Romeo and needs more of a traditional model?
So first of all, agency will impact the van side of the business. So it will impact Fiat Professional, and that will come in. It's currently planned to come in January. So agency is something which, and I think the plan is still for that to come in for January for the premium brands as well. So it's definitely a direction of travel that we are going in for vans. And also, I mean, that's a great opportunity because it gives us the opportunity to examine it for other brands, other car brands within the portfolio going forward. So a lot of the discussions. I mean, obviously, this is a big, and I remember us talking about it. It's obviously a really, really big change, and I think it's probably a change which a lot of retailers are very concerned about. Stellantis, so not specifically Fiat, but Fiat obviously being part of it. I've had a number of working groups, and a number of the retailers have been massively involved in that. I've been involved in some of them myself as well. So I think it's an exciting moment, but yeah, I mean, it will impact Fiat.
Yeah, dealers of I sort of know the answer to this, obviously, but I've got to ask you. I mean, are dealerships still important to you, or is the allure of going online, perhaps with Abarth, perhaps having Abarth as a purely online brand, is that too much to ignore?
I think, first of all, I think it's a really good question. And genuinely, I think retailers are absolutely intrinsic to us. I mean, let me be super clear about that. So on a personal level, I think, I mean, part of the reason why I've stayed in this industry as long as I have is I absolutely enjoy working with the dealers, with the retailers. And second, I think the sales online is going to become a fact of our lives, because if you think about it, that's the way things are going. But it'll become a purchase choice, a solution, not the solution. And I think we need to be able to provide it, because I think it also shows confidence in the brand. But also, I think let's not underestimate. It's interesting you pick on Abarth, but I think Abarth is probably one of those that you kind of, you know, I don't think I'd buy a sofa without sitting on it, probably. And I don't. But if I was buying the same sofa that I'd always bought, maybe.
Yeah.
So, for example, on 500, you know, on 500, for example, we've got some customers who, I mean, I was speaking to a lady the other day, is on her fourth. So she might buy online because she knows exactly what she's getting. But somebody who we've conquested from, I don't know, another brand into an Abarth for the first time will probably want to go and touch it, feel it, drive it. And actually, that's one of the key advantages, because if we can get somebody behind the wheel of the Abarth electric, and I'm fortunate enough to have driven it, albeit not for very long and probably not the best environment, literally down the ring round in Coventry, if I'm honest. You know, if the expectations here, we overachieve. So actually, the test drive experience and the dealer aspect of that can really amplify, I think, sales efficiency. So just to be clear, dealers are in our future, really, really important. Selling online will become more important, but one won't go without the other.
Mm. Well, Damien, thank you so much for joining us today. I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the year, and really looking forward to seeing where you take the Fiat brand, because I think all of us are really excited to see where that goes in particular. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Really good. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's it for today's Car Dealer Live. Join us again very soon. Bye bye.